Well, everyone had a little opinion about this last night. Jake Paul beat Tyron Woodley by split decision in their boxing match last night. Some people feel like calling it a boxing match is a bit loose. I would disagree, but Paul remains undefeated, improving his professional record to 4-0 with the victory. After the fight, Woodley already said he was looking for a rematch, and Paul said he would be open to it if Woodley gets the I Love Jake Paul tattoo.
That was the big punch, right? In the fourth, Woodley had him in trouble.
They bet before the fight. Yes. I thought Woodley was incredibly conservative in the beginning of the fight.
Was.
Boxing judges tend to not reward
inactivity
in conservative fighters. Like, did he have the biggest moments of the fight? Yes, absolutely. The fourth round, and he had him on the ropes. He had the biggest moment.
Yes.
But the moment only matters if you knock someone out.
That's right. Then you get to 10-8 rounds.
Yes.
But
then
wasn't.
It's a full fight evaluation, and he lost the full fight. He needed to be more aggressive. In my opinion, he should have been more aggressive in the early rounds because Jake Paul had never fought for that long.
And
so
Woodley
take more out of him early in the fight, take more risks early, and that will pay off later in the fight, which I also believe his trainer was saying to him, like, you are losing. You need to be more aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was obvious that Jake Paul won. You know, it's funny. Y'all love when Tebow can chase his dreams, but nobody likes when Jake Paul can chase his. It's funny who you allow to chase your dreams. And I hear this, well, Tebow's an athlete. Well, Jake Paul looks athletic to me. An athlete's not an attorney. You don't need a license. If I decided tomorrow I want to run half marathons, and I got a sponsor, I got a Red Bull said, we'll sponsor you. I'm an athlete.
Yeah, you're a professional athlete.
I'm a professional athlete. There's no license for this stuff. So if you're gonna have Tebow chasing dreams, you all love that. Why can't Jake Paul chase his? He's not fighting in these are not like the best fighters. He's not taking away time or money or food off anybody's table. That's great.
No, I mean, you can argue that he is putting money and food on the table for other fighters. Disregard that fight between him and Woodley. There was a whole other card where other fighters, professional fighters, got paid to fight, and he took less money so that they could make more.
Thank you. He was literally altruistic. He says, I'm going to take less money so all these fighters can make more money. He is good for boxing.
I'm not romanticizing Jake Paul. Everything that I just said is factual. If you choose to read, which I know is like very edgy these days, you can get this information for yourself. I'm not saying positive or negative either way. Yeah. That's the facts of what happened. There was an entire other card where people got paid to fight. The bigger picture and the irritant to me to these fights is that everyone wants to be a purist all of a sudden. Which, I mean, don't even get me started. Like, please be authentic if that's what you're going to bother me with. And I get it. Everyone is extremely sensitive about boxing. I love boxing. You love boxing. You started your career covering some of the biggest fights in the history of boxing.
I love it.
But boxing is entertainment at its core. Like, yes, is it some of the best athletes in the world? Yes, but a huge part. One could argue a bigger part of the sport of boxing is selling the fight.
And also, boxing is a pay-per-view event. So to get people through a paywall, Howard Stern went to SiriusXM. To get people through a paywall, because there's so much free stuff out there, you occasionally have to have an event feel or an act. I mean, let's be honest about it. Muhammad Ali was the first that understood this. Conor McGregor is brilliant. Conor McGregor is a performer, not just a UFC fighter. He is a performer. Ali was 50 years ahead of his time. His pay-per-view numbers, he was doing poetry. He was crazy. There's room in boxing, in any pay-per-view business. There is room for interesting, and Jake Paul's interesting.
It's how the sport makes money.
Right.
There are no season tickets. There are no jerseys. That's how the sport makes money.
Yes.
So it can be the most beautiful fight of all time. If nobody knows the stories behind the fighters, it's not going to make money. It's how the sport exists. So yes, you have to sell interesting. You have to sell compelling. And for that matter, speaking of how incredible McGregor fights are, UFC 257, Poirier-McGregor, 1.6 million pay-per-view buys. Jake Paul said that his fight against Askren, 1.5 million. His fight against Nate Robinson with the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., 1.2 million. So people are watching this. Yeah. And if you're a purist and you don't believe in it, then you have to do more than just not watch it and not buy it. You have to not talk about it.
That's right, because you're driving interest. If you really don't care, don't talk about it at all, because then you're going to create people to defend it, and then you create emotions. So if you really are a purist, Don't have an opinion on it.
You cannot have an opinion. That's just how it works.
Yeah.